When she sings, come home. When she sings, come home. When she sings, come home. Man, that is a certified banger. Now, I can't front. It's no toss a coin to your Witcher, but still fire nonetheless. Anyway, welcome to Otaku Talk. It's me, your host, your boy, OD, and today we're going to be talking about episode 3 of Loki. So this was a really interesting episode. I actually can't wait to get into the analysis for this one. And I think this time for this video, I'm going to not do so much of a synopsis. You guys, I figure, have seen the episode already. You already know what happens. You don't really need to be walked through it. So I'll do like a little Cliff Notes thing, but I really want to focus today on the analysis portion of it, because in my opinion, there's quite a few things to break down. If this is your first time on this channel or you've been here before but haven't done so already, please like and share. Bang that bell would do me a solid. Hook me up. Come on. All you gotta do is press a button. Help me out. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. That jaunt seems impossible at the moment, but everyone who sees this video, if you can just like, share, subscribe, would be doing me a solid. Anyway, that's enough me panhandling. Without further ado, let's get into it. This was a really interesting episode, and it almost felt kind of like a filler bottle episode. And I'll be real with you, for the first half of the episode, I was not fucking with it. I did not like it. I was like, this episode is trash. It's garbage. What's going on here? But as I was progressing, I was like, wait, no, there has to be way more to this episode than meets the eye. And then I realized that this whole episode seems to be it's intentional. It's intentional. And even though I still, despite knowing, in my opinion, or having a theory about what this episode was, I still kind of disliked it. But I do think it has great potential to be, you know, an underground gem, right? So basically, we start the episode with the female Loki infiltrating the TVA, right? Now, I was really disappointed because I really wanted this episode to focus on what the hell happened with the little time bombs. She sent several temp pads throughout different timelines, and it rocked the TVA at their core. Everyone, it was DEFCON 1. Everyone sprung to action, and I was really hoping that this episode would be an aftermath of that. Instead, we got a completely different side journey kind of thing, and I was a little bit disappointed. We start off with Lady Loki getting to the TVA. We actually have a cutscene, not a cutscene, but a flashback of when she was interrogating Agent 20 using her enchantment, pretending to be her friend in this kind of illusion, and getting information on where the timekeepers are. And we find out apparently it's relatively easy to get to them. All you have to do is get on this elevator. Now, we don't know all the information that's been given. We just know that apparently from the TVA, you can get to the timekeepers. You just have to get through the elevators and get past the guards. And apparently there's not even that many guards, it seems. And so immediately we see Lady Loki just go ham. She pops the fuck off, taking care of the TVA agents super easy, barely an inconvenience. I'm not cutting in that clip right now just because I feel like I've done it enough. I'll let it breathe. But yeah, she really comes in here and putting in work, and it kind of made me once again pissed off for Loki, because once again, all we ever see from Loki is him being the butt of the joke, a clown getting beat up. And I'm like, bro, she literally comes into the TVA and just takes on all these agents like that. Meanwhile, you, on the other hand, you were on Earth like not in this little like whatever this realm is, you were able to use your abilities and stuff, and you got taken out like a scrub. Meanwhile, on their home turf, she's putting in work. So that really annoyed me. I was like, okay, why can she do this and Loki not? I'm holding on to this idea that this is all just this whole entire series is Loki playing possum. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm choosing to believe that because it helps me be less aggravated and annoyed with everything that's happening. But yeah, oh, actually that reminds me, by the way, when she first comes in, she does try to enchant the first TVA agent she sees, and it doesn't work to her surprise. And also rather quickly she gets over it and goes straight to the fisticuffs and handles everything. So mad respect to her. Then Loki shows up following in pursuit after her, trying to find more information, gets his ass whooped. Some of you who are, Loki fans might say, no, he didn't. Like, it was pretty even. He got some blows in. Bro, she handled him. And the only explanation I'm willing to accept is that he really just wants to work with her. He really just wants more information on what's going on the TVA, on the variant Lokis. And so he's not trying to actually physically harm her. But man, I'll be damned if like it was still a bad look for him. I'm sorry. It really, really was. So anyway, the TVA agents headed by Renslayer show up. Lady Loki threatens to kill variant Loki. They don't give a damn. At that moment, Loki grabs the tempad from Lady Loki, takes him to Lamentis 1, which is where this episode is completely stationed. So long story short, like I said, I'm going to keep this really simple, really quick. I really just want to focus on the analysis of this episode today. But just basically what happens is they end up on Lamentis 1 in apocalypse, and according to Lady Loki, the worst apocalypse programmed into the temp pad, and they have to figure out how to charge this dead, uncharged temp pad and get themselves off this rock before it gets completely destroyed, right? So that's the entire main plot, I guess you would say, of this episode. Try to get the temp pad charged and get off this planet. But obviously things don't go that simple. Things go drastically awry, and we're going to get into all of that. So like I said, initially I didn't really like this episode. It just seemed kind of boring, kind of like out there, kind of like deviating from the plot. I understood that it was an important moment for Loki and this female Loki to learn more about each other and maybe get a better understanding of what's happening. But I was like, this could have been done so much better. However, I started to realize that there might be little hints and clues into this episode as to what is actually happening. And so I put on like this, like, kind of like lens and started just hyper analyzing every single aspect of this episode. So let's start off with the first thing that made me kind of, suspicious of what was happening. So there's a moment where Lady Loki tries to enchant Loki and it does not work. They're not in the TVA anymore. So I'm very, very curious as to why Loki was able to resist her enchantment. Now, Loki quickly just says, that won't work on me. My mind is too strong. But once again, this is Loki we're talking about. We don't know if he's actually being honest here or he's just bullshitting as usual. Part of me, when he first said that, I thought he was bullshitting as usual. I thought he was doing something or he knows about enchantments or something to that degree, right? But I was very, very curious. So for him to be like, you can't enchant me, I'm too strong, it made me think of several things. Why, is he bullshitting? Is there another reason? How would he know exactly how enchantment worked in the first place? Unless he already knows how to enchant and is just acting ignorant and coy and playing along just to, make this Lady Loki feel, safe and complacent with him around. So that honestly really, really rubbed me the wrong way. And I think there's a lot more than meets the eye going on here. Also, this reminds me of a callback to episode 2, where when Loki first finds out about the new variant and that she uses enchantments, he's like, it's cowardly and a bit amateurish,
but clever. And I'm not sure if he's just being petty and spiteful, or if that's his way of saying he can do it too. He just chooses not to.
Anyway, as they progress through Lamentis 1, they meet this one woman who's just holed up in her home. I guess that people are probably going around looting and acting crazy and whatnot. And so, when Lady Loki tries to break down the door, she's instantly shot several feet back with this giant futuristic weapon. Oh, which, by the way, this is our first time going into the future. So I was actually super excited for that, but we didn't really get that much out of it. I was really hoping to find out really cool really cool things that happened in the MCU that we haven't seen yet. Maybe hear stuff about, Scarlet Witch and like these and the upcoming like MCU movies and whatnot. But no, unfortunately, we didn't get any of that, which is fine. But I really thought that would have been cool and really nice. I thought maybe we might get introduced to King the Conqueror here. No, that didn't happen. But still, not that big a deal. But back to what I was talking about with the woman in her crib or whatever. Loki decides, okay, let me try to be sneaky about it, and transforms into her husband. And something I always wondered about him transforming into people was, does he somehow acquire their memories and such? And also, how does he know what the husband sounds like? Did he just figure, hey, this is some old white guy, he probably sounds like this, and went with it? So I personally thought that was really interesting. Now, my question about how much does he know about the man's life and does he gain their memories was answered super quickly by the fact that the woman shot the mess out of him the moment he starts talking, because he gave himself away by being a caring, loving husband, which apparently her husband was not. So I found that to be very hilarious. That was super funny. But something that really bothered me was the fact that the woman who has this massive weapon, who shot at these two who you can only assume are human. She can only assume are humans at the time, just ate those shots and lived. And not only did they eat those shots and live, one of them was transformed as her husband, got shot and transformed into something else. So unless in this future people are used to seeing shit like that, or they have high-tech gadgetry that lets you, make a holographic image of people or pretend to be someone, the fact that she was unfazed, I found to be sus as fuck. So let's say that's sus as fuck number 1. There's a lot of sus as fuck things that happen throughout the entirety of this episode. The next sus as fuck thing, in my opinion, is when they're traveling to the Ark to get on and try to evacuate, everyone and their mom is staring at them because they're cutting the line. People have been there for hours. And if they do not get on this Ark, they are going to get blown the F up. And so they're watching these two people just casually strut in front of the line. And I felt that part because I knew, first of all, like movie theaters, wherever, lines for food, if someone did that for any of that shit, I would be staring at them too, let alone this is some kind of like end of days, end of the world type thing. And they think they're just about to cut. Bruh, nah, you're not doing that. But anyway, everyone just watches them walk up. And on top of watching them walk up, Loki literally transforms into one of the guards before everyone's eyes. There's literally a dude who was like staring at him the entire time. It's kind of weird. There's like, it looks like he looks away for a bit, but he's pretty much staring at them the entire time. And Loki transforms and no one gives a fuck. Sus as fuck. So yeah, that bothered me as hell. When they get on the train, there's a moment where this part was hilarious. And I'm gonna go talk more about it later in the later portion of this video when I go over the analysis. But there's a part where the guards are told, hey, this guy's being rowdy. I don't think he has a ticket. They're like, hey, where's your ticket? And Loki is drunk. And he goes like, here it is, and instead creates fireworks he created earlier to show Sylvie. And, there's a scene where like the guards kind of look at each other, but for the most part, they're really, really unfazed. I don't know about you, but if a dude creates fireworks in the palm of his hand, I'm going to react a little bit more than that. So that tremendously bothered me. And then it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. Later on in the episode, they're confronted by, actually, I think it even happens on that train scene, and then later on, when they're trying to get to the Ark, Loki is shooting energy blast. When the hell did Loki have energy blast? The only time I've ever seen him use energy blast in the entirety of the MCU is when he was using a medium, when he was channeling power through a medium. And the only medium I've ever really seen him do that with was the scepter. So I was like, when has he been able to do that? And he hasn't. So this brings me up to the main point of my review, the main point of my analysis. Is this all a scheme? This seems like a really big scheme. And also, one thing, with all the questions Loki was asking of Lady Loki, is it possible that our Loki can learn the powers and abilities of other Lokis? Do we have a Mega Man type situation where he's gonna go from variant to variant and pick up whatever unique tricks or magic that those specific variants use? Who knows? Or have we just been trolled the entire time by Loki in the MCU, and he's known how to use a variety of magic this entire time? I refuse personally to believe that's true, because that would piss me off, because it makes no sense. If those of you who turned into my review last week will remember when I said that there's a big theory going around that Loki is really smart and prioritizes and takes great pride in his intelligence. And because of that, he doesn't like to use magic. He doesn't like to do certain things because it's the easy way out. It's the shortcut out. And so all this time he's had greater power than he's displayed, but he wants to win based upon the merit of his intelligence alone. Now, as stupid as I personally think that is, if that's the route they decide to go in, I will kind of begrudgingly accept it. But I don't know, guys. Would you guys accept that? Let me know in the comments. Do you like that idea? Do you like that concept? Because for me, it's the only thing that makes sense. Because once again, this dude goes on and on and on about how he's a god, he's this, that, or the other. But all his entirety in the MCU and this episode alone just showed me that, like, he's not that impressive. Even when they were fighting the guards and winning, mind you, I just didn't see someone that's a quote unquote god. Loki has frost giant physiology, and while it's not as strong as Guardians, it's still superior to humans in general. We see him lift up Tony Stark with one hand. We see him do other great feats of strength. We see him get hit by the Hulk. And so for people to casually give him issues and for him to have to try very hard against human adversaries, it's a little bit off-putting and upsetting. So I will leave that there for now. Anyway, I'm still not 100% buying that this Lady Loki is a Loki. After he gets thrown out the train, she follows him and we get some more exposition, and we're told that she hates being called Loki and that her name is Sylvie, right? On the train, we're told about their past, and for whatever reason, Sylvie not only was told that she was adopted way sooner than our Loki, but for whatever reason, her mom, and I'm assuming Odin, but mainly her mom, were killed at a young age, and she's been hunted by the TVA for a young age. Once again, I'm going to get into that more. But something has been bothering me tremendously. In the second episode, when she first shows up, via the enchantments give me a Loki vibe. They have Loki mannerisms and the way they speak, even the smirk, the superior attitude. I am getting none of that from Sylvie, and I'm not sure if that's the fault of the actress or if that's intentionally done. But this Loki variant, aka Sylvie, doesn't seem like a Loki to me. Once again, like I said in my last video, it's perfectly okay, and it's perfectly fine if the explanation is something along the lines of, hey, they're different Lokis, therefore they have different personalities. Totally get that if that's the case, but I'm just saying something doesn't sit right with me. Something rubs me the wrong way. It really does seem like the enchantments were more Loki than this Sylvie. I still would not be surprised if this Sylvie was being enchanted and controlled by another Loki. That being said, however, wouldn't be surprised if this Sylvie is actually Loki and they're just doing this weird thing where they're trying to be unique and trying to throw off fans. Because, like we learned from WandaVision, the writers intentionally don't care about the theory crafters and intentionally go out their way to red herring and troll the theory crafters. And so I wouldn't put it past them to completely revamp the story of Sylvie in order to just create something new and unpredictable that we cannot follow and try to, come up with a tangible theories and actually predict where this show is going. So I wouldn't put it past the writers to do that. But yeah, back to what I was saying earlier about her being hunted her entire life by the TVA agents. I just find that super interesting because the way the TVA agents made it sound was that there was a variant Loki going around and killing them, right? But it seemed more so along the lines of they were being hunted, not the other way around. But I wouldn't be surprised if one of two things was happening. Either this variant, Sylvie, isn't the one that's actually hunting them, and that there's another Loki that's actively hunting the TVA, or the TVA is lying. And not the TVA, obviously, because of what we learn later, but whoever is issuing the orders and giving them this information is lying. But as far as I can tell, Sylvie just wants to be alone. Her whole plan, by the way, like Loki is even confused by her plan. He's like, what? You throw the timeline into chaos and then just F off? And like, yeah, because from her perspective, she didn't want any of this. All she wants is to be left alone and to live her life. And because she's a quote unquote variant, she's being hunted down unfairly in her opinion. And I kind of see that. And so I can totally see this not being some kind of world conquest, time conquest, pursuit of power thing. It's just leave me the F alone so I can go about my life kind of thing. And Loki doesn't seem to understand that. But once again, the fact that this is the second time now he says that's not what I would do makes me further question whether this Sylvie is actually Loki. I wouldn't be like, once again, another theory, like I said, is she's actually being enchanted by a Loki variant that uses enchantments. Maybe they're doing this and making her pose as a Loki to get the TVA off the actual variant Loki's ass. Who knows? So we learn a lot more about the TVA from Sylvie. We learn that actually everyone in the TVA is actually variants from the timeline, just like the Lokis, and that they weren't created by the TVA, as Loki was told by Morbius. And we were told that she had a lot of messed up memories, and because of that, in order to enchant her, she had to use memories dating back hundreds of years before she joined the TVA. So I instantly, that got the gears in my mind spinning, going, okay, so if this is true, who exactly is Agent Morbius? Who was he before he joined the TVA? Is there something special about Agent Morbius? Because as we've seen, the TVA kind of seem to be kind of heartless, soulless, don't treat people too well. The only people we've seen with any kind of real emotion has been Agent Mobius himself, and I guess a little bit of Renslayer, but mainly Agent Mobius was the only one that really cared about other time variants' lives when they went into the that superstore the last episode. So also, how old is the TVA itself? We were told that time moves differently here. So is it actually, a couple hundred years old, or is it much longer? Has it existed forever? Is this a little pocket dimension that some being created so that they can control and manifest time? We do not know, but the theories are getting bigger and bigger, and the reveals and exploits are getting faster and wider. And I cannot wait for us to get more information so that we can, delve deeper into what exactly is going on with the TVA. But it kind of seems like we're leaning towards the timekeepers not being agents of good, And like Sylvie herself said, being kind of time fascist. Because, like Loki himself said, what gives them the authority to decide that, the sacred timeline is how it should be? Mobius tells us last episode that they go ahead and they kind of pick and choose what happens and untangle, unravel, the time, and make a clean timeline. Agent Mobius and the rest of the TVA make it happen. It's as if the timekeepers are basically writing this novel or this story about how they want time to go, or what they think should happen, or what they want to happen, and it's the TVA's job to make that happen. But as we've seen earlier with Loki at his case and all the other things going on, there's no real rhyme or reason to anything they're doing. Also, if time discrepancies are such a big issue, why isn't Wanda here? Why isn't she facing trial? Why is she getting away scot-free? Is her magic able to exist within the TVA's realm? So there's just so many questions here, so many things that don't make sense. I'm really hoping they don't go like a Wizard of Oz kind of trope, where it's like there's no real timekeepers. It's just one dude lying to people and pretending to make things up. Could just be Kang the Conqueror BSing. Like, who knows? There's a lot of theories at work here, and with the way the writers are doing things, well, we can never and we'll never know what route they're going until they get there. So I just find that to be super interesting. And then finally, the last amount of, okay, F this. And I think it was at this part that everyone watching Loki was like, okay, yeah, something's up here. Something is really, really up here, was when there's a massive building falling. And Loki's like, I got it. And like either reverse it. It doesn't even look like he pushes it away. Like, it doesn't look like telekinesis or anything. It looks like he rewinds time to allow the like building to rebuild itself. Because like, once again, it didn't look like he pushed the building. I could be wrong. I'm going to be playing a clip, but like, it looks like the building just completely rewinds itself in time and fixes itself. So that was the last straw for me. And I definitely knew at this point that something was going on. And that brings me to the conclusion of, well, not the conclusion, but here comes the main meat of this episode, this review. So this whole episode, nothing made sense, but then the more you thought about it, everything made sense. All the throwaway lines or things you didn't really think about, once you start putting some ideas behind them, start coming together. For example, he said he can do anything, right? He said at first things seemed impossible, but his mom believed him because he can do anything. So now I'm thinking, okay, does that mean he will be able to use and utilize and learn all sorts of other magics? So there's that. Sylvie says that she taught herself enchantments. First of all, I don't know how you can just go around and just randomly teach yourself magic, but she taught herself. So it stands to reason that if she can simply teach herself enchantments, why can't Loki? We know Loki to be exceptionally smart and brilliant. So if she can do it, why can't he? So that makes a lot of sense in terms of, is this all an enchantment? Love is an illusion, right? With the whole metaphor with the knife, you see it, you can see your reflection in it, it seems real, but you go to touch it, you can't because it's fake. So was this just Loki's way of, in her face, playing her for a fool, joking with her, making like basically letting her know like, hey, you're an enchantment and you don't realize it. Also, speaking of the knife enchantment, just real quick, on a segue, just real quick. To this day, I'm not sure if Loki can actually summon his knives or not. At first, I was like, when Agent, I think 18 or whatever, took his knives away, how come he wasn't able to summon them? Now, the answer for that could easily be they were locked up in the TVA, and the TVA is like void of magic, so you can't use magic to get stuff out of it. But part of me feels like there was a lot of calling him a magician this episode. And so part of me thinks that he was doing like, every time he pulls out the knives, that's why he goes like this. Like he never goes like whenever he uses his knives to fight, he never just goes like this and they appear, they like or they there was a time in this episode where they like magically appear and reappear. We never see that whenever he's fighting with them. We see him go like this, and I'm pretty positive all he's doing is keeping them stored in his sleeves and pulling them out with sleight of hand. That's my opinion. Because the times where we do see the knives magically like appear and it's not a quick whatever, they're fake knives. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Not really important, just something I wanted to just throw out there. But yeah, and then the entirety of the episode, the final thing that makes this so crazy is that they do insane things the entire episode and no one seems to care. Both Loki and Sylvie getting shot by that woman, Loki transforming into that woman's husband and getting shot, transforming back to himself. Not a word, not a single care. Cutting in front of the line and then transforming in front of everyone. No one cared. The fireworks in the hand. No one really cared. There was a slight reaction, but nothing major. So, yeah, man, just all these little tidbits and clues. And then we have Loki showcasing powers he has never had the entirety of the MCU. We have never seen this from him. He's shooting energy blasts, catching buildings. And then the part that really just like, really, I was just like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? Was when he broke the temp pad and had a "Did I do that?" moment. Like, are you kidding me? You might have doomed yourself. You might have killed yourself. And you're like, whoops, my bad. No, there's no fucking way. There's no fucking way. I'm sorry. There's no fucking way. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I'm not fucking buying it. And I'm surprised Sylvie was buying it, which makes me even more so believe either she also is enchanted or she's aware of the enchantment. Like, I don't know if the writers and directors just want us to assume or accept that what happened on the train and all that happened was just because Loki was drunk. But I think at this point in the episode, everyone watching was like, yo, yeah, this ain't it. Something's up. There's more than meets the eye. I smell suspect, right? Yeah. So I have two final points I would like to finish off with this review. The first is, I think this is honestly, this entire episode is a subversion of the opening scene and an exact parallel of what Sylvie did to Agent 20. Agent 20 being the one that she had the dinner with. She pretended to be her best friend and tried to coax the information, coax the information out of the agent of where the timekeepers were, right? Sylvie was using her enchantment to try to squeeze out information from the TVA agent. And also, now that I think about it, I think that he is lying and he is full of shit about not knowing where they were. When they first show up on Lamentis 1, he is like, where are we? Blah, blah, blah. And Sylvie has to fill him in on the fact that this is the worst apocalypse ever. But the reason I say there's no way Loki doesn't know where they are is, one, he programmed and sent them there. Now, obviously, you can say he was rushing. He was just trying to get them out of there. Yes, that's very believable. But here's the thing. In episode 2, literally, Mobius gives him an entire file of all the greatest apocalypses in time, right? And if Lamentis 1 is the worst, according to Sylvie, the worst apocalypse ever, no one makes it out. That's definitely something that would have been in the files that Loki read. And also, she makes it clear that she has been here before. She has a lot of knowledge about it. She has never worked for the TVA, so it has to be all first-hand knowledge. So if it's all first-hand knowledge, that means it's a memory. Sylvie explicitly tells us when enchanting the mind of someone powerful, it's not easy and they don't just go to sleep, that they're there in the enchantment with them, aka how Sylvie and Loki have teamed up and are buddy and going through this whole mission together. Loki used the memory she had of the last time she hit out on Lamentis 1 to create this enchantment for her. My question is, where does the enchantment begin? A lot of people theorize that it happened when she fell asleep on the train. Personally, I feel like it happened way sooner. I feel like it happened way, way, way sooner. Also, I'll be real with you. I'll be damned if that TemPad is not only not broken, but was never out of juice. Because that was all too convenient. You see, every time he pulls it out using magic. I'm just, it's all sus. It's all sus. So, but yeah, like I said, he's read up on every major apocalypse. So either for him to enchant her without her noticing, either he's supremely mentally superior to her, or she's mentally weak, but I doubt that's the case, or she's secretly aware that they're under enchantment, and she also, as a Loki, is playing along. I don't really know. Those are my theories. But yeah, that's about it. The last thing I want to speak on before I end this video is this theory I saw on Reddit that reminds me of what I said last episode, which was that I believe that there's both a multiverse and multiple timelines. The guy says something along the idea that there are several parallel universes and several sacred timelines. And the sacred timeline is a decided timeline that every universe must follow in order to keep parallel and avoid touching each other. And I think that makes perfect sense. You know how we see those lines and it touches the red line, blah, blah, blah. I think what ends up happening is if those red lines, if it exceeds those red lines, it connects the several sacred timelines of all the multiple universes that exist. And because of that, we will have some kind of crisis where people can go back and forth between multiverses and different characters and different Thanoses and different blah, blah, blahs can happen. And I'm thinking maybe the timekeepers themselves might even be variants. Because, you know, one thing that seems to be being hidden is the Living Tribunal, which is almost like the god of Marvel. The real god of Marvel is the one above all, which is Stan Lee. And it's actually like the god of Marvel. But Living Tribunal is like literally like in terms of an all omniscient, omnipotent being, kind of that. So anyway, I'm going to leave this video here. So many ideas, so many theories. What do you guys think? Do you think Sylvie is actually Loki? Do you think that Sylvie is in an enchantment? Do you think Loki is an enchantment? Do you think they are both in an enchantment? Do you think the TemPad is actually broken? And what do you think is going to happen next? How do you think they're going to get off Lamentis? And what do you think about the TVA? Do you think the timekeepers are good guys or bad guys? And yeah, do you think I missed anything in this review? I would be happy to hear it. Anyway, this has been Otaku Talk. I'm your host, OD. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Please like, share, and subscribe, and have a great day. Take care.